Hey, how's it going, you guys? Welcome back to some more ChronoClock. We are in Michiru's right now, and we promised little Michiru we would go to the flower field that Michiru went to as a kid. Now, to little Michiru, of course, it is just the flower field, but for big Michiru, this is a place that's nostalgic for her childhood that she and Ray had went to. So we're gonna see how that goes. Dee Dee promised she'd make us some lunch, but this is unfortunately a school day, so we do have to worry about that as well. Let's go ahead and jump into it. I'm curious to see what this flower field's about and what kind of memories this will unlock for them. As soon as the bell rang to end the last homeroom of the day, all the students stood up from their seats to hurry home. I'd promised to play with little Michiru today, so that with that intention in mind, I would have been one of those hurrying students. But unfortunately, I'm on cleaning duty. Ugh. I mean, to be fair, though, I really like the idea of having kids cleaning the school themselves. I feel like it gives them kind of an attachment to it. It feels like they're putting effort into making the school what it is. And it's something that when they come into the classroom every day, they can kind of see, hey, I cleaned that. I made that look better. You know, it gives you a sense of belonging in your school, which I feel like, at least, I'm American, so I'm just going to kind of compare it to American schools. I don't feel like you really have that much of a connection to it. You just kind of go there and you just kind of leave. You know, you think of it as this place where you're just kind of forced to learn about things, and sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative. I really like the idea of trying to make it kind of like you would with your own house, right? You kind of clean your own house, you get some attachment to it. It feels like your place, right? And hopefully instills positive memories, and hopefully it does that with the school. So I like getting the kids you know, involved with it, right? Like, I have a young daughter, and I like the idea of her being able to contribute and help make the experience better for all of her classmates and herself, preferably, you know, because she's there to learn, right? But my daughter's not old enough to start going to school yet. I just like the idea of it. I've had so much fun lately, it totally slipped my mind. I've also been daydreaming in the middle of class, and occasionally forgot to turn my homework as well. As punishment, my teachers ended up thrusting a lot of makeup work on me, but it's like the saying goes, you reap what you sow. It's just gonna take me a bit longer to finish up here, so just see to Michiru and walk her home. Is that supposed to be advice? Or is that supposed to be help? Do you want any Tetsudai help from me? I'm fine. I'm more worried about leaving Michiru alone to wait for us. We made plans to go out with little Michiru, so just be sure to let her know why I'm gonna be late. Just be sure I was planning to text little Michiru as well. Wow, Dee Dee, this was the most pleasant conversation I've had with you this entire game. Yeah, I'll work hard. Also, I noticed Makoto overreacting to the word duties. I thought she wanted to hide that. Interesting. I'll be late. That was the news I received from my dear brother over an hour ago. I'd been worried about keeping little Michiru waiting, so I came home with Miss Dee Dee, but perhaps I had been a failure on my part. I ended up watching an animated film with little Michiru, but it was just about to end at this point. Dang, she's really obsessed with being his wife. Little Michiru was utterly absorbed in television, though I was glad to know she was enjoying it so much. Since it had been quite a long time since I watched this film myself, I could not remember the specific details of it. Though I would hardly say I was bored, it pained me to think that I was too distracted to enjoy this movie together with little Michiru. I was broken over my beer when little Michiru turned over and called out to me. Wait, is she still playing house, or is she just calling me daddy? That could be daddy in a lot of ways. Oh dear me, here I was still lost in my own newlywed fantasy, and I found myself calling my dear brother daddy without realizing it. You know, Michiru, of all the things you say, that one doesn't surprise me that much. I'm gonna be honest with you. Little Michiru went along with it at least. Perhaps this was thanks to our playing house yesterday.
父さんが約束を破るはずが。
She's still saying it, by the way.
まさか職場の目狐に襲われて。職場？目狐？
Yeah, you're teaching her bad things here.
職場ではなくて学校でしたね。学校でもお父さん浮気しないと思うよ。
This is quite the interesting conversation.
そうでしょうね。お父さんは誠実な人ですから。
Okay, can we stop calling Ray daddy now? That being said, it seems like this little girl understood what the word vixen means. I see good things for her in the future.
とも
Not really, no.
かつ事前にお話しいただければ私も考えないこともありませんが。
Though I would certainly make sure to dispose of any women who are unsuitable for my beloved brother. Ah, big yandere vibes coming from you.
心配なら迎えに行ってあげたら。妻が夫の職場に顔を出して牽制というのはいい手ですね。しかし外で待っていると兄様が知ればきっと気に病んでしまわれますから。
Quite possibly.
そうか。
Was she disappointed because she wanted to go to the school? Perhaps not. The more likely cause was our plans to go outside, play outside today after having a spanner thrown into the works. In addition, I would feel bad about calling and inquiring him about when he would be finished, since I would come off as trying to rush him that way. As his little sister and his wife, no. All I could do was have faith in my dear brother that he'd keep his promise. 私たちで先に出かけましょうか。 お父さんを待たなくていいの？兄様には後で合流していただきましょう。私たちを待たせる方が気にされるでしょうし、それに兄様もみちるがおめかしをして出迎えたならきっと喜んでくれると思いますよ。私、お出かけの準備してくるね。慌てなくてもいいですからね。 She ran out of the room without even bothering to turn off the television. She certainly seemed excited at such a prospect. さて、私も身なりを整えないといけませんね。DD さんにも兄様へメールを送っていただかなくてはいけませんし。 Getting ready to go out seemed much easier than usual. I was excited at the prospect of an outing with my dear brother as well. Little Michiru and I were quite like-minded indeed. I'm sure you are. You guys are literally the same person. So, that would make sense. お母さん、忘れ物は大丈夫？問題ありませんよ。みちるこそ大丈夫ですか？ I like how her idea of looking nice is literally just putting on a hat. 平気だよ。ほら。Of course, I could not actually look at her myself, but Miss Edie had assisted her with getting ready, so I had every reason to believe she'd be fine. わかりました。それでは行きましょうか。出発進行! I took her hand and slowly started walking. I had never walked together with little Michiru all on my own before, but there was no need to be overly conscious of that fact. I think she should be okay. I think she'll be fine. Miss Didi had informed me of how the teacher had asked my dear brother to do something he could not refuse. Sounds really weird when you put it that way, but sure, I mean, you're not wrong. Just, you're not right either to say that. In that case, there was nothing to be done about it. I wonder if this is the same type of experience would reoccur many more times in the future. I could never become the sort of diligent housewife who sees to things while the husband is away. Such was hardly congruous with my personality in the first place. That being said, I could never imagine myself working a typical 9-to-5 position of employment either. What will I do in the future and what will I be able to do? Though naturally, I already know what I want to do. I want to be with my dear brother. I mean, that was pretty obvious. But, I don't know. I feel like all she thinks about is her brother. Like, she should think about some other things sometime. You know, there's plenty of other nice things out there. And I feel like little Michiru has been a nice distraction. Sometimes. Because the problem with little Michiru is that little Michiru only thinks of her brother as well. So, they're both only thinking about him. It just feeds into it more. In order to make that wish come true, problems like this are the ones which I must devote more serious thought to.
るの？ええ。まずは繁華街の方へ向かいましょうか。この前とは逆回りですね。逆回り？海からの帰り道と同じ方向なのですが、みちるは眠っていて覚えていませんね。今日はちゃんと起きてるから大丈夫。兄様が来るまではそうしていてくださいね。私では運んであげられませんから。お母さんもお父さんに運んでもらいたいの？
Yeah, that among other things.
そうですね。おぶってもらうのも姫抱きにしていただくのも捨てがたいです。
It's very interesting. Michiru has a very, kind of like a romantic perspective of things. You know when you... Okay, I shouldn't say you know. But if you've ever seen one of those kind of, I don't know, girly, romancy type things, you know, they're always like, it's like this picture perfect thing. Like, there's always a little bit of like turbulence, always a lot of stuff that happens, and then they get together in the end. And they kind of have this like perfect romance of each other. I feel like she kind of imagines the same thing with her and her brother. The main difference between the two was choosing to bask in the warmth of another's back or choosing to feel like a princess for a fleeting moment. That's what it is. It's kind of like a fairy tale. I was trying to think like what you would necessarily call a story like that. They're very like fairy tale-esque type deals.
ダメですよ、みちる。こういうことは兄様からしていただくことが重要なのです。
Yeah, I feel like the intention matters a lot. I feel like a lot of women want the guy to take initiative and to do things like that of his own accord, not because she necessarily wants him to or asked him to. I feel like they like when you take initiative.
兄様が私にそうしたくなるよう魅力を磨くということですね。
To receive a favor is wonderful in its own right, but it makes a girl even happier to be desired.
強引に迫ることも必要ですが、兄様から近づいてもらえる方が幸せですから。
And I feel like that... Now, we're kind of looking from a girl's perspective with her saying that, right? But I feel like this also is true for men, and it isn't talked about as much. I feel like a man wants to feel desire just as much as a woman does. A man just sees it kind of differently. And I feel like a man would probably go into a much more physical direction, let's say. I mean, picking up somebody is pretty physical too, but you guys can insinuate what I mean, right? But also, I feel like guys like a lot of sentimental things too. I just don't feel like we talk about it as much. And we kind of like take this idea of we don't want to ask for it probably even more seriously than women do. I feel like we like having the little things, like maybe like a girl running her hands through our hair, like things like that are really like sentimental, and it's not really something a guy would ever ask for, but I feel like guys really like that kind of stuff.
いい女性の秘訣は男性を待ってあげられることかもしれませんね。あれ？でも私、男の人は女の人を待たせちゃダメって聞いたよ。時と場合によるのですよ。時間のことも機会のことも。男性は待たせないように気を利かせ、女性は待ってあげられる度量を持つということですね。たとえ浮気をしても最後に帰るのは自分のところだという余裕を持ちましょうね。
Are you trying to say something here? I feel like this is kind of specific.
よくわからないよ。
I would hope so. I would hope you don't understand what she's talking about.
構いませんよ。わからないことも含めて楽しんでいくことを覚えましょう。なんだかよくわからないけど、ですから頑張らずに自然体でいいのですよ。
It was not my own place to criticize little Michiru for being somewhat slow to understand what I said about love. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she's incredibly young. Like, I would be more impressed if she did know what you're talking about. Little Michiru and I are actually very alike in that sense. Talking of likenesses, While our outer appearances are very similar, surely we must look like sisters while we walk, holding hands together this way. I would wish for us to look like a happy family when my dear brother accompanies us, but we look too young for that.
お買い物してから行くんだよね。そうですよ。みちるはどこか行きたいお店はありますか？
So kind of just to touch on the conversation they had, I see that they're kind of veering away from it, but I want to touch on it before it's too late. I found the concept of what she was saying interesting. So she's kind of talking about, you know, waiting on your man, and then even if he's fooling around. I don't know about that one. I wouldn't tell any woman to wait on a man who's fooling around with another woman. But like, it's important to know like kind of what fooling around is. Like if they're out there flirting with another woman and, you know, trying to make something happen, then yeah, I would say that's a problem. But you know, I feel like some people kind of look at things and take it differently. Like just because a guy is talking to another woman doesn't mean that he's fooling around. I think it's okay to be friendly with other women than your wife. Now, there's certainly boundaries and there's certainly limits to that. I'm just saying this as a married man, you know. I'm not out there trying to flirt with any other woman besides my wife, of course. But I feel like, I don't know, maybe some girls would see certain things as flirting. And as far as like kind of some of the other stuff they were talking about, I don't know. I would just say it's nice for the man to make the woman feel special, but also I think it goes both ways. I think the woman should also make the man feel special. I feel like that's what really makes a strong relationship, is when there's balance. If you have too much of one person doing too much for the other, that's a problem. And I don't really like see. I don't know. I don't remember where I was going with this, but I'll talk about it more if it comes up.
お菓子買って行きたいな。出かける前に食べたでしょ？夕食前ですし、控えた方がいいですよ。私じゃないよ。お父さんにあげるの。お仕事でお疲れだから癒しが必要でしょ？
I also feel like this right here is very weird though, like that she started making little Michiru think of Rei as her dad and not her brother. A little strange if you ask me.
我がことながら不安ですが、それもそうですね。ここは兄様の好きなものを買い、お帰りのキスの代わりにあんをして差し上げましょう。できるなら口移しまでたどり着きたいのですが、さすがに外でいたすのは問題ですからね。
Also, please do not talk about that in front of little Michiru. I mean, little Michiru is way too young to be hearing about any of this.
あんしてあげたらお父さん喜ぶの？もちろんです。みちるなら恥じらいも少ないでしょうから、素直に受け入れてくれますよ。私だと恥ずかしがる。いえ、人気のない場所を選べば大丈夫。
In fact, my dear brother has allowed me to do things that he never used to accept as of late, but sometimes he even parries my advances afterwards. I must not let my guard down. I have to be careful lest I end up doing something careless. Beating him by hand would be one thing, but doing it mouth to mouth would be even better. Alright, her weird fantasies aside, I do notice Rei kind of flirting back a little bit more. I feel like by this point it's kind of obvious he does have feelings and he wants to return them. Just kind of waiting for the right moment, the right timing. I feel like the same thing kind of happened in Misaki's route too. And I'm sure that's going to be kind of a theme going forward. They seem to wait to confess. I don't know. Well, in Misaki's route, he kind of confessed pretty early, and then she didn't really confess her feelings back. I would like to see a route where they kind of both get together pretty early on and see what becomes of that. If it turned into a kiss after that, I would surely die and go to heaven on the spot.
そっか。頑張ってね、みちる。ええ、もちろんです。最低でも頬にキスまで持っていくつもりです。みちるも私の次でしたらキスをしても構いませんからね。私はしなくても平気だよ。レイが決心するまで待ってあげるのがいい女の子なんでしょ。
Gosh, she's already indoctrinated her.
あらあら、みちるは随分とませていますね。
Undoubtedly, she must be quite a headache for her own dear brother. I don't know. What do y'all think about the way she's been like kind of interacting with little Michiru? Do y'all find it ever that it goes too far? Personally, for me, and you know, I'm not gonna start crapping on it too much. I do like the dynamic between Michiru and little Michiru, but I feel like some of the stuff she says in front of her is probably something I would never say in front of a child, even if I was a woman. I just feel like it would be kind of inappropriate to talk about too much like that. Not to say that in front of my own daughter I don't talk about things, but I mean, she doesn't even talk yet. So, I mean, that's a little bit different. I certainly, like, try not to say certain things around her, but I don't know. Little Michiru, I feel like, to me, is kind of at an age where she's absorbing a lot of information. I feel like constantly sexualizing your brother or wanting to, I don't know, do certain fantasies and then mentioning that in front of little Michiru, maybe not what I would do. I don't really feel like that's entirely appropriate for a girl her age to be thinking about. That's just me. Oh shit, Michiru and the others must be pissed. 2 hours have now passed since I parted ways with Didi. Gosh, it takes you 2 hours to do all that work they gave you? Thought you were supposed to be cleaning with somebody. Never expected it to take this long, but I was only making excuses by saying that. I guess he did have to do some makeup work too. I was thinking that he had to do some cleaning and like kind of janitorial stuff. I don't feel like that should take 2 hours, but it's supposed to be the same kind of feeling a salaryman has the moment he gets off work for the day. I think I was finally starting to understand why some major corporations had employees complaining about a lack of consideration for their own family time. I'll just have to grow up and become an adult who treats his employees well then. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people would do that if they had a business. They would probably be like, oh, I'm going to do this and make sure my employees have good benefits and all that. And then the reality of business comes in where it's like you got a lot of expenses, especially as a small business. I'm not talking about a big corporation. I feel like a big corporation that's making billions of dollars could afford to, you know, properly compensate their employees for their time and benefits and things like that. I feel like they can provide more of that, but, you know, it won't happen. At least not here in America. I'm different. I know firsthand how tough people must have it. In reality, a lot of other people must have had it even tougher than me, but that thought just strengthened my resolve to treat my employees well in the future. I mean, yeah, I guess he kind of is in a position where he can start thinking about employees because he probably will inherit the Sawatari company. It was an offer I couldn't refuse, and besides, you left me behind to go on a little stroll. Appreciate the thought, but you just end up distracting me, so I'll pass. If little Michiru was cheering me on, that would give me motivation, but at the end, I still wouldn't be able to concentrate. If it was Michiru, though, I could concentrate and get a lot of work done. According to Didi's text message, the odd couple of Michirus had gone to the shopping district. First, I had to meet up with them, but I figured I should call them first to let them know I was coming. Though the moment I pulled out my phone, it began to ring. It's from Michiru. Perfect timing. She must have been waiting for me. She could very well have been sitting in the bushes somewhere watching me from afar. Yeah, I feel like that's a distinct possibility, for sure. Either that or little Michiru told her to call me out of impatience. Though it could have been Michiru who got impatient too, the possibility was there. Hello, it's Ray. Sorry for keeping you waiting. Ah, frick, did you lose her? What? You had one job. She isn't, but I thought she was with you. My mind went blank for a second. Hearing the panic in Michiru's voice, I started running right away. Where are you right now? Caller, no, scratch that, I'll do it. Michiru, just stay where you are. Michiru's frantic voice was making me panic too. Telling myself that I needed to calm down, I started off by trying to quell the panic in my voice. I'm on my way over there right now, so don't run off looking for her by yourself, okay? Yeah, I will. I could hear Michiru calm me down as I spoke to her. My own efforts to keep calm seemed to be working. Yeah, that would be kind of hard to keep track of her, especially when, you know, you can't really see what she's doing. Right now, Michiru would probably be alright. After saying one more thing to calm her down, I ended the call. Then I dialed little Michiru's number. But I didn't even go to the dial tone. All I heard was the emotionless voice of pre-recorded. Your call could not be completed as dialed message. I had a really bad feeling about that. Yeah, that's kind of concerning that her phone's either turned off or she doesn't have signal. That wasn't necessarily concerning on its own, but it would be dangerous to optimistically write that off, that bad feeling, as an empty fear. I considered calling the police just in case something happened. Please be safe, little Michiru. It'd be faster to ride the monorail than to get on my own 2 feet, even if I knew that I was impatient myself. In order to calm down, I spent my time sending a message to Didi on the way to where Michiru was. Explaining the situation to Didi and gathering my thoughts would most likely help me pull myself together. As soon as I reached the station, I pushed through the crowd and ran over to where I was going to meet Michiru. Unlike the time where I waited to meet up with Michiru at school, I had a very different feeling in the pit of my stomach as I searched for her in the station. I wanted to find out as soon as I could. I had a real duty to find her, and my motivation seemed to be pushing me on my back. Weaving my way through the crowd of people in front of the station made that sense of duty even stronger. I desperately looked all around to find her. She was in the middle of the congestion of the station, which formed a wall between us. She was staring at the ground, looking helpless and lost in the sea of humanity. Michiru! I reflexively yelled out to her upon seeing her that way. Michiru's face lit up when she heard my voice. The massively apparent relief on her face made her look like a lost child who just found her parents. Michiru, sorry it took so long. I called her, but it wouldn't go through. I contacted Didi and the maids of the house to be safe, though I told them to be prepared in case something happened. That's just gonna make her imagine the possibilities, isn't it? Indeed, her face seemed to falter upon hearing that. I really should have worded that a little bit better. What the hell am I doing, making her even more worried like this? Do you have any idea where little Michiru might have gone? Well, she did talk about wanting to get Ray some sweets and things like that, right? Isn't that kind of what she mentioned earlier? I would start with that and maybe look around if there's a store like that that might sell candy or something nearby. Considering how many people were around, it's quite possible little Michiru simply lost sight of Michiru and got lost. If she'd been abducted, somebody would have seen that, so it's safe to say that was quite an unlikely possibility. I mean, I think she certainly does have powers. I don't know how effective that would be. I don't think so. She's looking around the house with Didi right now, though. Awkward silence followed, and Michiru's hopeful mood changed to a disappointed one. It's not your fault. If anything, it's my own fault for being this late. We can save this discussion about why this happened and who's to blame for after we find little Michiru. Took Michiru's hand, which was trembling with uncertainty. Taking her hand put a dose of courage in my unwavering heart, since I knew that I needed to be reliable for Michiru's sake, too. Worrying wouldn't help us find little Michiru. It was more important to be thinking about the problem at hand. Before we got separated from little Michiru, did she say anything about going somewhere? I guess we can't rule out the possibility she might have went there by herself. Little Michiru's phone had an app installed which made use of maps after all. I'm an idiot. Why didn't I think of that sooner? Little Michiru's phone, I just remembered it has a feature that could help us find her. It totally slipped my mind since we never need to use it until now, but now is the time. Even if her phone's turned off, I should be able to look up its last active location. Though when exactly she turned her phone off is another question. I took out my phone and opened the app in question. Waiting for it to completely load was beyond frustrating. Getting impatient would just make Michiru more anxious since she had no control of his situation. While doing my best to keep it together, I wiped the sweat from my brow and clicked on the screen. Yeah, I think she's just in the store buying a present for him. I think that's kind of... I mean, obviously Ray doesn't know that. He wasn't there for that conversation, but I feel like Michiru was, and Michiru should have remembered that. Yeah, but don't run. If you trip and get injured, then you won't be able to help look for her. Besides, Didi and the others are still searching. We should find her soon. Michiru's words agreed with me, but her pace did not. She showed no sign of slowing down. Perhaps this gait of hers was partially owed to the fact that little Michiru's last known location was on the way to the flower field. The information relieved some of Michiru's anxiety, but still made her walk faster.
みちるはどうして一人で花畑へ向かったのでしょうか
We did promise to go together. Maybe she could have been going back home, but there was even the possibility that she could have been going somewhere else. Either way, we didn't know the reason why she would head out alone. Michiru couldn't rid herself of the nagging fear that she did something to make little Michiru leave on her own. Of course, we also couldn't determine whether little Michiru was safe or not. I thought about asking Michiru to wait at the house while I searched for little Michiru, but I couldn't just leave Michiru alone like that. I wanted to be by Michiru's side to ease the burden of her anxiety. Okay, so I thought, because they kind of went into the mall. They were outside and then they went into the mall. So I was assuming, like, maybe she just went to the store or something. I mean, that'd be nearby. It would make sense. She could have gone to the monorail. I mean, that was my other thought. There was that store, I think, right by there. I'm not sure, though. Would she have just ran off to the flower field by herself? I feel like that's very out of character for her. I mean, I know she's young, but it seemed like she's pretty responsible. As we closed down the position indicated on the map, it felt as though we were retracing our footsteps. The place we reached was right between the house and the flower field. I had a pretty good idea where it was on the map, but I didn't expect it would end up being right here.
兄様どちらへ向かいますか
Didi and the others are looking around the house, so we should head over to the flower field. The problem was little Michiru didn't know its exact location, not to mention she turned her phone off. And when I went there with Michiru as a child, it was by car. Even if little Michiru walked down the main street, there was a lot of side streets she could have gone down. Considering that little Michiru was going on foot, she couldn't have gotten lost on one of the side roads. And it'd be better for us to split up and search, but I couldn't leave Michiru alone. Little Michiru seemed so racked with guilt, though, I could imagine her telling me to go on ahead and keep looking without her. Michiru suddenly turned her gaze up from the ground.
今聞こえませんでしたか
Hear what? What do you mean? Considering the circumstances, I had a hunch of what Michiru was talking about.
また
Michiru's gaze turned towards the other side of the road. There was a thicket of flower shrubs which stood a wall of trees.
こちらからみちるの声が聞こえました
I mean, I would believe her, because she has some of the best hearing out here, so... Hesitated for a moment, unsure if I could trust her words. Alright, let's go. I agreed to follow her, but it wasn't because I was out of ideas, it was because I trusted her intuition. I was just being pragmatic, as would be expected of a blind person. Michiru had quite a sharp sense of hearing, which was definitely better than mine. She was the last person I'd expect to mistake another sound for little Michiru's voice. I'll take you over there, so just point me in the right direction.
こちらです
I couldn't hear anything, but Michiru could clearly hear something. We crossed the road and slipped between the row of trees. We stepped over plants and parted branches while making our way through the greenery devoid of a path. I held Michiru's hand to keep her from falling, and as she advanced through the uneven landscape, it might have been easier to go around. Nevertheless, Michiru took the shortest path directly through. I walked beside her, taking care to remove any obstructions in her path. Regardless, she ended up running into something I didn't see.
いえ大丈夫です
Okay, just be careful, you don't want to fall. Michiru continued to suffer scratches on her arms as we pushed through the vegetation. I told her to be careful every time. Every so often, Michiru stopped, looked up at the sky and changed her direction slightly. She tripped and gave an explanation of pain, which told me she was fine. Not after checking to make sure she was alright. Then, as we were walking, I heard something that almost sounded like a voice. Hey, wait up! Michiru suddenly ran off and I followed after her. Despite a few missteps, Michiru continued walking forwards with no hesitation. Little Michiru had the same helpless expression on her face that Michiru did when I found her. Surely that must have been why Michiru instinctively yelled out little Michiru's name when she found her the same way I did. Which would mean surely little Michiru's face would brighten up when she saw us, just like Michiru's face when she saw me. This reminds me a little bit of in Clannad. I'm not going to say too much about that because that's kind of pretty late into it. But if you know, you know. She was staring at the ground helplessly, but the moment she saw us, her expression changed. She seemed just like a lost child who just found her parents. I wonder if this is kind of replaying something that happened to Michiru as a child. And it's just obviously with Michiru and Rei instead of her parents. The expression that appeared on her face wasn't the expected mixture of surprise and relief. Her expression looked like she was shocked to see us, like she was saying, "Why are you here?"
みちる無事だったのですね
You aren't hurt, are you?
平気そうごめんなさい
Michiru reached out to little Michiru, trying to comfort her to see if she was injured at all. Little Michiru said she didn't have any injuries, but her legs and clothing were clearly soiled. She must have been trying not to worry Michiru. But why?
みちる、どうしてこのような場所にいたのですか？花畑。一人で来た方がいいと思ったの。
You didn't want to come with me and Michiru?
違う、そうじゃないの。そうじゃなくて、みちるがレイと二人の方が嬉しいと思ったから。そんなこと私は考えていませんよ。でもみちる、レイと一緒だとすごく楽しそうだもん。
So it sounds like little Michiru is reading into things a lot more than they think she is.
私が一緒だとなんだか違うみちるだから。
The times when the three of us together and the times when it's just her and me, of course, they were different. The times we were a family and the times we weren't. She was right. There was definitely a different feeling between those times, but...
私が一人でいれば二人とも嬉しくなってくれるでしょ。
That's not true.
違いますよ。みちると一緒にいる時も楽しいですよ。邪魔だなんて思っていませんからね。でも私のせいで二人とも大変そうにしてるもん。一人でお留守番できるのに心配させてるから。みちるたちの邪魔になってる。そんなことありません。
Michiru forcefully denied the statement, but she touched little Michiru's hand very gently. She very gently held that quivering hand.
迷惑だなんて思っていません。大変な時があっても嬉しいですから。あなたと過ごす時間はどんな時でも大切な思い出になるのですよ。
So I feel like I kind of mentioned a lot at the start of the game where I liked the start of the route, I should say. I liked the dynamic between them, and it was funny to me that Michiru kind of saw little Michiru as a rival in kind of a sense, even though they're pretty much the same person. This is interesting though to find out that little Michiru kind of almost felt the same way, but not exactly, not really like a rival, but she felt like she was getting in the way of their happiness and of what they wanted to do together. Very different dynamic, that's for sure.
兄様と二人でいる時と同じくらい幸せに思っていますから。
I never thought of you as a bother either. I always have fun playing with you, little Michiru. I never thought of her as a burden. Even the most challenging of times to become the happiest of memories. In fact, I wish you would bother me more.
かけないよ。私一人で大丈夫だもん。
How can I get through to
一
her?
人で先に行こうとしたのも。だって平気だもん。みちるがいなくても寂しくないんだよ。
Yeah, this is kind of unexpected. I feel like it makes sense now that we're hearing it. But it wasn't really something we really got to see much of. We didn't really hear about her. She always just kind of said, yeah, I'm fine at home, I can entertain myself. And it seemed like she was kind of happy, but to find out that she actually was kind of hurting and felt like she was just getting in the way, that's something different entirely. Little Michiru desperately wiped the tears from her eyes, even if she didn't want Michiru to know she was crying. How can I get my feelings through to her? If I tell her she doesn't have to do all those things, can I get through to her at all?
私はみちるがいないと寂しいですよ。
Tears began spilling from Michiru's eyes and falling to the ground as if she could restrain them no longer. Though Michiru was still trying desperately not to cry herself. She didn't want to cry, she didn't want to bother us. Though Michiru desperately wanted to maintain her mature attitude, just like Michiru had done in the past. But just like that time when Michiru plunged alone into the darkness, she was pushing herself too far.
それでもです。兄 様とみちるでは違うのです。
If little Michiru really is the same as Michiru was in the past, then Michiru should know what to say to
で
her.
すから背伸びなんてしなくていいんです。だって私は違うもん、平気だもん。寂しい時は寂しいと言ってください。泣きたい時には泣いてください。そうしないと私は気がつけないのですから。言葉にしてくれなければ目が見えない私では見落としてしまいますから。
She's actually saying it.
だって寂しくなって。
I don't know if little Michiru caught on to that. Because she might have just said, like, hey, she's just saying, I'm, like, kind of blind to how you're feeling. You know, you could use that as kind of not necessarily saying you're physically blind.
大丈夫だから。お父さんもお母さんもいなくても大丈夫だよ。
I don't know. I feel like I've heard a lot of people say that they could be alone and be happy. And I've even said that myself sometimes, too. I've definitely had points in my life where I was going through things and felt so depressed. I felt like I practically was alone, and I was doing it alone. Even though I wasn't, you know. I did have people around me or people that tried to support me, but I felt like to myself that I was alone. And just from having experienced that, I can say that nobody really wants to be alone. You may not like the people you have around you, you may not like the way they approached you and trying to help you, but there's definitely somebody out there that would understand you and know how to talk to you and care for you. I just don't really believe anybody when they say they want to be totally alone, that they don't want anybody. It's just a matter of they haven't really found that person that makes them feel happy. And I'm not even saying romantically, I'm just saying maybe even as a friend or just as somebody that validates them as a person. Like, everybody wants to be validated, everyone wants to feel like they belong.
一人でも平気だから。わがままなんて言わないから。泣かないから。心配しなくていいよ。
And this also could be stemming from the fact that she's been kind of taken away from her parents and doesn't get to see them. You know, this is a very tender age. I mean, I don't know exactly how old she is. I can't remember if they've ever said. I just kind of put her around, like, I don't know, 4 or 5, somewhere in there. I feel like she's not technically in school right now or anything. But maybe she's a little bit older than that. I have no idea. But definitely being away from her parents, if she's used to being around them, would be hard. And it sounds like they were kind of in and out of the house anyways once she got old enough to kind of take care of herself.
何でも一人でできるから。邪魔しないから。
But yeah, it's like, just because you can do something alone doesn't mean you should. I mean, there's a lot of things I like to do alone. Sometimes I just want to watch a show alone. Sometimes I just want to play a game alone. But there are certain things that are better shared with other people. And I feel like everyone needs a little bit of that. Everyone needs a little bit of human interaction. You know, humans hurt each other, but they also help each other. I think is ultimately what it comes down to at the end of the day. I think we are a species that is so social and needs confirmation, I guess, from other people sometimes, whether we want to admit it or not. Now, that's not to say that you can't have an identity and you can't be yourself without other people, but it's nice to feel like you're not alone all the time. And I think we kind of need some moments with other people. We need to be comforted sometimes, you know? Nobody out there is as strong as they think they are, okay? You may think like, oh, I don't need anybody else in the world, but you do. You'll always need somebody else for something. You'll always need a little bit of comfort, because life's hard. It's hard to do it alone. I know this, I'm like very much like expanding the horizon. I mean, she's just a little girl, and I feel I'm not trying to downplay her her problems, but I feel like it's a little bit more intensified when you get older and you feel like you're this lonely. I mean, she's just a kid and she kind of just needs comfort from parents or family. She doesn't know much about the world yet, and as you get older, you know more, and sometimes you still feel lonely. Sometimes you still feel like you don't have anybody to support you. Anyways, that was kind of my long-winded rant. Hopefully that made sense. Some of it, at least.
そんなところまで私と同じにならなくていいのに。
Please don't push yourself to grow up before you need to grow up.
いい子でいようとするのも、わがままを言わないのも立派でしょう。
I think it was last episode I talked about this. Like, there's a difference between, like, fulfilling your needs and being selfish. Like, okay, if you already have a lot of stuff and you want more, you know, or if, like, somebody else needs something more than you and you're like, oh, actually, I want it, you know, and I'm going to deny them of that when I don't really need it myself. I think that's selfish, right? That's just greedy. But, like, taking care of your basic emotional needs, taking care of your basic physical needs, not selfish to do. Everyone should be entitled to those basics, you know? If you have mental health issues, you should be able to get some help with that. I feel like in a perfect society that would happen, right? But doesn't always.
お母さんですけど、自分の気持ちを素直に伝えることも大切ですよ。
Yeah, and communicating is good too, especially if you have a good support group. Like, sometimes you just need to communicate that you need something, you know? People aren't mind readers, they're not going to be able to determine that every time, you know? I think as a parent, I'm looking out for my child and I'm looking out for their emotional needs and their physical needs and things like that. Probably more so physical when they're young, but as you get older and they're maturing and they're learning to talk and think and feel for themselves, it's good to be there for all those emotional, more emotional needs.
幼い頃から抑え込む癖をつけると
I think she's at that age right now. She needs the emotional stuff really,
口にできなくなってしまい
really
ました。
strongly right now. And this is true right here. Okay, can we just stop and read this for a second? Because this is true. I felt like this exactly growing up. I felt like I bottled up needs. I bottled up my emotions, the things that frustrated me. I never really learned to deal with them. And I've had to do a lot of catching up as I got older with those things. Does that make me good at it? And does that help me when it comes to relating to other people? Sometimes. But it's hard if you kind of get into that habit of bottling up things and you don't feel like you can trust somebody to like kind of express those emotions. You will end up hurting when it comes to expressing how you feel. Especially when you get like a partner, you really want to be vulnerable with them. You want someone you can feel like you can trust. And if you get into a habit of bottling up your emotions and not being honest and not being able to trust anybody, that makes it extremely, extremely difficult in a relationship. So learn to embrace your emotions, and find the right people to kind of let them show.
できるよ。私、何でも。でしたら、寂しいと、素直に泣いてください。
I don't know. I feel like at least here in America as a society, we've come a long ways with this. And embracing, like, hey, we got emotional needs. We have a lot of mental health problems here. People just don't know what to do with their emotions. We're kind of just told as society, like, oh, men don't cry, you know, things like that. When it's like, why not? Why can't a man cry? Why can't a woman cry? Why can't anybody cry that feels sad or frustrated or emotional about something? There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Michiru's fingertips grazed little Michiru's cheek, softly wiping away the tears that overflowed from the little girl's
我慢
eyes.
してばかりでは、誰も幸せになれませんよ。みちるが無理をすれば、悲しくなってしまいますから。お母さんも。 私も兄様もですよ。ですからせめて私たちが一緒にいる時には、そうでなくても頼れる人がそばにいる時には素直になってください。ただもしかしたら受け入れてあげられない時があるかもしれません。これじゃわがまま言ったら迷惑になっちゃうよ。お父さんもお母さんも困らせちゃうよ。それでいいのです。困るくらいみちるの気持ちを伝えてください。そうしたら後で目いっぱい一緒にいられなかった分も含めて大切にしますから。こうしてあなたのそばで抱きしめてあげますから。
I feel like she's really young to be having this like kind of life lesson about emotional maturity and regulating your emotions. I think that's a very powerful thing. It is something they need to start learning at that age, but I'm like, wow, this is pretty heavy for a very young child, and I would imagine it's very hard for them to grasp their head around, but it seems like she's getting it overall. Michiru pulled the little girl's body into a tight embrace. Teardrops fell to the ground like rain.
ありがとう。素直になってくれて。
I don't know. I feel like as a parent, though, like, this is what I want to do. I think this is important. You want to be open and honest with your child. You want to do that so that they will come to you with problems. Because I feel like growing up with my mom, my parents were divorced, so I was pretty much raised by my mom. My dad... I could say a lot of things about my dad, but I won't. I didn't even really feel comfortable bringing a lot of issues to my mom. I just didn't... I was really close to her, but maybe not emotionally. I don't know. I did know a lot of stuff, but I didn't. Like, we kind of shared some things, but we didn't. As far as, like, when I was really having a hard time with things, and I don't know, I guess maybe she just didn't, like, comfort me in the right way that I wanted to be comforted. I'm not saying she did a bad job with that. I'm just saying maybe in what I was looking for, I didn't really get out of that. But, like, as a parent, that's kind of what you want to do for your child, right? You want to be someone that they can come to, because the world's hard, and it's like, if you feel like you don't have anybody to go to with your problems, you'll probably just go to the internet or something, and the internet can be a cruel place. People are mean, and I don't know, I feel like you're just gonna get pulled in whatever direction the internet wants. The internet's becoming increasingly... how do I describe the internet? It's... A lot of people are feeling entitled to being able to say whatever they want, because there's not that physical contact where you're looking at somebody and having a discussion with them. You can kind of just say whatever. I feel like there's a lot of very harsh opinions on the internet, a lot of just people that have kind of maybe had a rough life and just kind of will make you look at the worst in things. So I feel like it's better to come from a parent who really loves you and cares for you than going to other sources that will just kind of make you very pessimistic. Let's put it that way. Tears were shed and they both shared their true feelings. Michiru's feelings and little Michiru's as well. And apparently I shared my feelings. I've shared a lot of thoughts on this. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm running out of breath from talking so much. Sorry guys, I really apologize.
そんなことありませんよ。お父さん、忙しそうだから邪魔しないようにって思ったの。
I never thought you were getting in the way. I felt warmth spreading from my heart as I pulled the two trembling girls close to me.
怖かったの。ここで一人でいて寂しかったの。もう会えないかもって寂しくて私。
All you had to do was call for us.
誰の騙したら迷惑かけたらダメだと思ったから。
The tears in Michiru's eyes expressed something which couldn't be put into words. Her feelings spilled over just like the tears in her eyes.
Michiru, 我慢しなくてもいいのですよ。Michiru.
Little Michiru expressed all of her emotions without reservation. I felt something burning hot in the pit of my chest when I heard her voicing her honest feelings that way. You don't need to hold back anymore. When you want to cry, please don't feel like you can't cry in front of us. That's when you're really happy. Or then when you're really happy, you can laugh with all your heart too. Maybe not now, but later. It's okay. You can laugh, you can cry. There's times when you're gonna do both in life. That's just how it is. If you don't have any opportunities to cry, you're probably not having enough opportunities to laugh either. So it's okay to have feelings and emotions, but it's important that you kind of learn how to deal with them, you know? It's like if you're sad, you need to learn how to work through that. You need to learn how to mourn and be comforted and hopefully not feel as sad. But there's also times when you need to learn how to feel happy and you need to feel joy and just live your life in a way that you can not be miserable all the time. You know, there's a lot of good things in this life, and there's a lot of cool things to experience in the world, and you just have to find them. You know, you can find them wherever you are. At least I would hope so. But you know, that's just me talking. It's much easier to say that than it actually is in reality. So I was truly happy to see them tell each other their true feelings. And Michiru and I will make sure you can laugh. We want you to be happy, little Michiru. I like to see both of you smiling, and when I see you lonely and crying, it makes me want to try even harder to make you happy. So please don't go off alone. Be together with us. She couldn't hold back the tears any longer. The three of us embraced and cried all the tears we had. We cried loudly and openly, getting everything out of our system. Families are meant to share the best of times and the worst of times as well. However, that is surely a good thing. When the children can act like children, surely that is the definition of a happy family. Been out in the Clark. I don't even know what that means. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna end it here. I think I talked for more than enough time than I ever needed to. You guys are probably sick of hearing from me, so we'll end it here, and hopefully you guys aren't like, oh, I don't want to ever listen to this guy again. Freaking, he talked half the episode. But I think that was a nice emotional moment. It got me to kind of open up a bit. I started talking about a whole bunch of stuff. I don't know. I just feel passionately because I kind of relate to feeling that. I don't think I really expressed my feelings like she did when I was a kid. Probably needed to. I've definitely had to go to some therapy throughout my life for different things that have happened, and I think it's nice to be able to share. Sometimes just talking about feelings that you kind of bottle up in your life and maybe don't have someone to express them to can be really healthy. So therapy is a good thing, guys. If you have anything you need to talk about with someone and you feel like you have no one to talk to about it in your life, you know, that's definitely something to look into. It shouldn't be as stigmatized as it is. I know a lot of people who go to therapy, and it's helpful, and I would greatly encourage it. I don't really go to therapy anymore. I feel like I've kind of gotten over a lot of things, but I definitely have a lot of things in my past, you know? I would say most people probably do, unless you led a perfect life, which if you have, I'm not shaming you, that's wonderful. But I think for a lot of people, there's a lot of shit to deal with, okay? I'm just gonna say it. I try not to swear too much when it's not like the dialogue, but I'm just gonna throw that out there. Anyways, guys, sorry for the long, ranty episode, but just a lot to talk about, a lot to think about. Anyways, I hope some of you enjoyed it, or you got something out of it, and I shall see you in the next one. Have a good one.